to beg for food and for money. And
Guys, just cool down and listen to this guy. How his journey started from a childhood, and at the end of it, it's ruled his life. You know, there is always this adage that people always say, there is power in the tongue. There is always power in the tongue. Even when you're going through a lot of people will be like, speak positivity into your life. Always say positive things. Stop saying negative. This is exactly the typical example of AIDS. How he was lying with a lot of sicknesses just to get a pity from people, and at the end of it, it comes to manifestation, it comes to reality. Guys, this guy's story, a lot of us don't know about it, but I promise I'll be posting it bit by bit so that we can learn from it. I personally learn from this guy's story. Let's go on.
so it all started when I was really little. When I was very little, my mom was like a widow, and I used to always join my mom to, go to the house of church members then in my church to beg for food and for money. And we always left with something, some foodstuffs or some money. So that sticked in my head. And then one day I was alone in church, and a certain woman passed and asked me how I was doing. And I wasn't really looking okay. I cannot remember why. But then she asked me if I'd eaten and stuff like that. And I remember that they always ask my mom those questions. And I remember my mom's reply. So I said, let me tell you what my mom used to say. Then I said, no, I've not eaten. There's nothing in the house and stuff like that. And surprisingly, the lady gave me my first 500 naira note. And I was like, oh wow, I've seen people that have to work to get this. I only have to say something and I got this. So it happened the first time, the second time, and I was getting like 500, 1000. Then one day I was like, how about I add something that is not true and maybe the money will be bigger. So I said sometimes I would just act sick. So and then I started getting 2,500, sometimes 3,000. This were money that my brothers were not even, my older brothers were not even able to bring to the house. So I started saying things that were not true. I started using one sickness or the other to extort money from people. And it was happening mainly in the church space because when church people hear your stories, they are like really touched and want to help. So I started saying I had asthma. I've never really had asthma in my life. When I started saying I have asthma, I have to play the part. So I started acting like I had asthma attack. I've been to different churches. The first church I actually did that was in Family Worship Center. And then I migrated to House on the Rock and different kind of, church, different branches of Redeemed Church. One day, the idea of saying I have HIV came up. And I went to Family Worship Center, I went to the altar and gave a testimony. Because I noticed something about testimonies. Sometimes when you give a very pitiful testimony, so many people would want to approach you after the testimony. So I went to the church and I said I have HIV when I didn't have. I even said my father had his way with me when that never happened. So I was really saying too many things, just to get pity. And the first time I did that in Family Worship Center, as I came down from the altar, when the church closed, I made up to 50,000 naira that day. So many people were coming and saying, oh, sorry, you have this, you have that. Okay, take this, take that. And I was like, oh, wow, this works. And then I was now like, you know what, maybe this HIV thing is not going to really work. Let me say that I was an homosexual or something, because I just wanted stories that will always make me collect money from people. So I was doing that severally and it was going so well until they had to run a test for me at Family Worship Center, and they found out that I wasn't HIV positive then. And so the business died off in that